we are live on YouTube. Okay, everyone?
Michelle,
Yes.
do you have an agenda for the work session?
Yes, it's on the website.
Okay.
Hi, Kelly. Yeah, it's on the website.
Yeah, I can confirm that. I'm looking at it.
Thank you.
Michelle,
Yes.
Lavoy,
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Good.
Control L,
Control L. Okay.
as in Lavoy.
Thank you. I might be able to remember that. It's been a long couple weeks. Okay, Control L. Thank you. And then that letter, it would be under discussion lot split requests.
Yep, for the Oak Street split.
And we are live on YouTube for everyone.
I had a decision to make. I came a song, I was listening to some music, and it's like a 12-minute song, Elton John's funeral for a friend. And so I had to make sure I could get on, and then it just ended. Good thing it didn't start 5 minutes later.
Vince,
Yeah.
does Chief McCormick need to be a panelist?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. They make a question later on. Yep.
I always feel like this is the pregame show and we're responsible for entertaining.
I have 6 o'clock, Your Honor, so whenever you're ready.
Thank you. I see we may be still awaiting a council member. Is that correct? Or am I just on the screen?
Councilwoman Vining is on her way.
Okay.
That's all that I'm
Councilman
aware of.
Nicolangeli, does he
Councilman
need to be-
Nicolangeli?
does he need to be checked in or?
No, I looked. He's not in the attendees.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a minute. And just, sometimes that late connection.
Mhm.
See if there's any, I'm gonna see if there's any messages. Okay,
I'm promoting Councilperson Nicolangeli just now.
okay, I'll wait a second then. I know he had some of his connections, has to go through that process there.
Yep.
All right.
There. It should be coming on.
Okay, and since you've had connection with Councilwoman Vining, that will know that she'll be joining us. We at least are not starting before they're just here. So.
No, she said she would be on probably shortly after it began.
Okay, good. And I see the councilman is joining us.
Hi.
Councilman Michelangelo, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We see the cover.
I don't know. I'm having difficulty with my, hold on a second.
Okay, you bet.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. All right, good.
Let me
So I
change my
think,
background.
no problem. So I think at this time, we'll call our city council work session to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Icoangeli,
Present.
Vining, Jermaine,
She's excused. She's joining us.
Here.
Lamore,
Here.
Felder,
Here.
Whitman,
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here. So we have a work session. We have a few items on there. So I think I'll just get right to Mr. Pastu and kind of go through them unless Clerk, you had anything further?
I do not have anything further, Your Honor. I do have a letter that I need to read during the 2847 item discussion.
Oh, on the regular
Lot
agenda.
splits.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, I see it. Okay, got it. Mr. Pastu.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've got a few items. The focus initially will be with the Downtown Development Authority, and I'm going to have Annette Knoll provide information update for City Council, which is required under Statute Act 57 of 2018. Annette?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Michelle's pulling up my slideshow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then,
I'll
Annette, just tell me when you want me to advance it, all right? I may not always know.
Okay, will do. Purpose for this presentation is Act 57 of 2018 now requires downtown development authorities and other similar organizations to conduct 2 information sessions annually. My plan was to have done this earlier, but because of COVID, the presentation was delayed. So this year we'll plan the second session sometime in December, and it will be a more casual session. But for this one, I like to present the annual work plan and the budget so that those who are interested in learning more about what the activities of the DDA are can get it as it's proposed. Next slide, please. So what I'll be talking about this evening are just highlights from fiscal year 2019-2020, the work plan for this current fiscal year 2020-2021. It's a lot to say. And then the budget for 2020-2021 that has already been approved, but I wanted to review it for the purposes of anyone who might be interested in watching. And then our watch list for items that we're just keeping our pulse check on. Next slide, please. So some of the accomplishments for the DDA from the previous fiscal year were they conducted an update to their 2017-2022 strategic plan. That was a kind of a mid-process check to make sure that they were making progress. And to add or subtract any projects that no longer looked like they were going to be on the horizon, or things that they wanted to add that perhaps weren't conceived of in 2016-17 when the process was completed. Completed the second phase of an upper floor conversion technical services project. That was where 2 properties in the downtown district were analyzed by an architect for an interior build out and a cost estimate supplied for that. Implemented updates to the downtown Monroe MI.com for Act 57 compliance. The Act also requires a number of information pieces be added to the city and or DDA's website. We post them to the DDA's website. Implemented demonstration areas from the recommendations in the master plan for parking. So there are 4 locations in the downtown district where the meters are covered, and where parking was metered parking, it is now 1 or 2 hour time limited. we're monitoring those for usage. And again, this age of COVID has, I think, impacted the frequency of parking in the downtown. So it's been a little hard to measure whether or not those have been a success or not. Adopted Riverwalk enhancement and expansion plans and streetscape design guidelines, which set the stage for any future improvements in those two areas. Purchase supplies for conversion of lighting in the downtown to LEDs and replace the globes. So I believe there's about 180 lampposts in the downtown that, as the Department of Public Services has time to complete, they will be converted to LED, and the globes will all be replaced so that they all look consistent. Developed a format for the annual report for Act 57 compliance. We issued that first report in December. So that was something that had never been done before as far as preparing a printed piece of an annual report. I can supply examples via email if you didn't receive one, but as I understand it, I think all the council members received a copy a few months ago. Approved the downtown reinvestment grant application for 102 West Front Street. We anticipate that coming to a closure here very shortly. Implemented the marketing plan for the year. As halfway through the year, or 3/4 of the way through the year, we're encountered with COVID. So we put together some marketing efforts to support downtown businesses as they reopened. And then lastly, authorized preparation of plans for Riverwalk connectors. There are two existing connectors to the Riverwalk that are on West Front Street that we are in the process of putting plans together for improvements. Next slide, please. So for this current fiscal year that started July 1, the projects that are on the horizon include continuing COVID-19 recovery efforts where and when possible. We're underwriting the cost of a downtown pedlet that is actually going, as I understand it, to be installed tomorrow in front of 39 South Monroe, McGady's. Implement the Riverwalk Connector project once the plans are complete. Implement recommendations to activate storefronts. We've got a fledgling committee that's starting for this activity. It could include art-focused treatments, sidewalk shopping, outdoor seating, trying to encourage more of that or streamline processes. They haven't really finalized any one particular of those efforts yet. Work with farmers market to enhance the experience. They've been doing a great job, but we in the master plan had some ideas for strengthening and expanding the farmers market. We'd like to start having those discussions. Set aside funds for property acquisition and economic feasibility for the right opportunity. That would be a building in the downtown if, again, the right opportunity came along. Investigate feasibility of redevelopment of some of the surface parking lots. That would be to meet demand that was identified in the residential and or targeted retail market analyses. Assist the city by funding alleyway improvements. I think we're going to cross this one off the list at least now. As I understand it, the alley that's going to be under construction here in the next month or so will not have any value added aspects to it. So we'll reserve those funds for a future project. Continuing to host stakeholder meetings, implement strategies in the downtown master plan to improve parking management. Those will be ongoing activities. Complete the third phase of tree maintenance. So over the last 2 years, we've conducted extensive tree maintenance on 2/3 of the downtown. This year, we'll be focusing on what hasn't been completed to this point in time. And normally that work is done right after when winter starts breaking. So usually it's end of February into early March before the trees have leafed out. Award one building reinvestment project if there is interest. We are actually in the process of tweaking some of the parameters for that particular program. I don't have anything in the hopper, but once those are done, we'll be announcing it and accepting applications. And then lastly, installing spring and winter seasonal decorations in the downtown planters. Next slide, please. And for the purposes of the council, you've already seen this, so I'm just going to focus my attention on the right column, which was the requested, which is now approved amount. Revenue side, there is interest on funds that are in balance, real estate property taxes. Personal property taxes look like a negative because of changes to the tax structure for the state of Michigan, but they do reimburse for a portion of those lost taxes, which is the next line down. So we're looking at for revenue for fiscal year 2020-2021 as just slightly under 245,000. Next slide. For expenses, again, calling your attention to the column on the far right. Staff is 42,628. Overhead, which includes office supplies, copying, postage, our annual audit, insurance premiums is 4,382. Other is training and travel, miscellaneous memberships, etc., things of that nature, 3,000. Facade improvements, 50,000. That number looks high, but because the project that was awarded last year has not been, there's actually 2 projects that were awarded in the past that haven't been fully completed and reimbursed yet. So all that is going to fall into this current fiscal year if the 3 projects are completed, 2 in process, 1 potential. Community promotion and advertising, the board wanted to increase the marketing budget from the previous years. So we've upped that amount to 25,300. Parking management and improvement at this time, there are no funds being allocated. Most of the management activities are really zero cost. If there is something that arises that we need to create a budget for, there could be redirected from another project that isn't completed and or funds out of balance to pay for those. Land and capital, again, for potential opportunities, 240,000. Maintenance and decorations is 10,200. Again, noting the discrepancy or the difference between the previous year is we purchased all of the lamppost supplies in the previous fiscal year. That is why there's a large difference between last year and this year. General contract services. These are items that normally require some sort of professional services. So that would be 90,000. And then debt transfer. This is the debt payment for bonds that were issued when the riverfront parking lot was done. 130,094 this year. Just wanted to reiterate that that is an escalating number every year from here on in until the bonds are repaid in 2031. So the total projected expenditures, $595,604.
Annette and Councilman Felder has his hand raised.
Okay, I can answer any questions. That's fine.
Andrew?
Thank you. Just unmuting myself. Regarding the capital project in terms of looking to buy a building or improve a building or engage in that sort of capital project, you made the point of you're going to wait the board is going to wait for the right opportunity. Tell us a little bit about what that opportunity looks like to you. Is it a particular building? Is it a particular scope or kind of project that you're waiting for? Give us a vision.
Okay. Well, that's a complicated question with a complicated answer. Normally, when a DDA purchases property, it's usually a problem property in town. So something that's been on the market for a long time, the white elephants, the ones that are a struggle for the market to handle. So we don't want to necessarily interfere with the market per se, but if there are properties that arise that are problematic in some way, that would be a potential target. Another potential target would be if there is a strategic property that needs to be acquired because there's a project resting on it. So let's say the DDA wanted, and a developer approached the city and said, hey, we'd like to be able to do this project, but we need your assistance with some parking. And there's a parcel of property that would be prime for that. The DDA could acquire that and improve it. Another option would be if there is a building that a tenant is interested in, but they need some help because perhaps they don't have they have a good business plan and a good marketing plan, but perhaps need a little bit of fiscal assistance, where the DDA could act as an incubator of that space. So the DDA could acquire that space and lease it back to a tenant. So those would pretty much be the top three opportunities. And again, there has been some real high-level discussion, but nothing that's been honed in on at this point in time.
Yeah. So either to fill in gaps where the market itself is not taking advantage of a particular opportunity, or to facilitate that private investment in the downtown.
Yes, and I'll get to return on investment in the next slide, but I think that's one of the larger considerations that we will have to entertain, is what really is the potential for the DDA to realize some additional tax increment financing from a project. Given the consideration of the budget moving forward, I think the DDA will need to be kind of very focused and creative on how to attract that development into the community.
Wonderful. Thank you, Annette.
Okay. Next slide. And this is my last slide. So our watch list for the year one, again, cannot reiterate enough that this is going to be our year of flexibility. The long-term effects of COVID are unknown, and like many businesses are, the DDA must be prepared to pivot to projects that will sustain the downtown in the short term. I like to say the DDA are long-term thinkers, but I think we're all focusing more on short-term sustainability at this point in time. And if the budget needs to change as these kind of projects emerge, you, of course, will be hearing back from us on that to get approval with a rationale as to why a budget may have to change. The fund balance. Some of the projects last year that were on the work plan, for obvious reasons, weren't completed. So the fund balance did grow last year. However, if everything is expended to plan this year, we'll be drawing off fund balance and getting down to a level that the DDA board established, which was roughly 100 to 120 a year. 100 to 120,000 a year is what they would like to keep in balance for now. The projected balance at the end of the year was 404,000. That number is now slightly higher, based on, again, the less activity in the second half of the year last year than we anticipated. So while it looks like the financial footing of the DDA is solid, these upcoming debt payments will impact opportunities in the future years. Return on investment will be a factor in decision making. And then lastly, the bond debt. Of course, the DDA has the escalating bond debt schedule. I'm going to include this in my watch list every year, with payments increasing annually until the debt is fully paid in 2031. Without additional growth in revenue, the resources available to the DDA for projects will be limited and declining as the debt escalating payments get higher and revenue isn't there to meet it. It's just going to create more demands operationally for the DDA. So again, needing to be sure that they're very judicious in what they're planning to work on. So that concludes the information session. If anyone else has questions, I'm happy to entertain them. Okay, well, thank you. And I will be sure to invite all of you to information session number 2, in addition to the taxing jurisdictions from which the DDA captures money sometime in December of this year. Hopefully, we will still be able to social distance if the COVID effects are still there, but meet in person rather than doing it via Zoom.
Thank you, Annette. And I know that the things come up as we progress through. If there's questions may come up, that they can always send a message to you as well as the city manager regarding some downtown questions as we move
Yep,
forward.
absolutely.
Thank you. Pass two.
Next item, I can't remember the sequence. With the
Drafting marijuana.
what's that?
The marijuana ordinance.
Oh, no, we got 2 items. We got more items with the downtown to follow up on.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Michelle, can you pull that sheet up?
From what you gave me this afternoon?
Yeah.
Sure. Oops, one second. Screen share. There.
Only got a handful of these tonight. There we go.
There you go.
I'm not sure how clear this is coming, but one of the projects that Annette, Paula Stanifer, and myself have been working on over probably the last 6 weeks is essentially getting the refuse off the curb in the downtown. And so part of it is just breaking it up into little pieces. And we started on the west side of South Monroe, thinking that's the easiest area to start with. And so you can see where you have area A, and it encompasses properties along South Monroe, but also some of the units that are along West Front as well. And so it kind of defines that area. And based on that, one of the things that we'll be recommending is putting a dumpster enclosure to serve that area. And part of it is now that, as I said, we've got DPS now involved with looking at some of this. I know Bill Walters and Patrick are now engaged in it, but the ordinance, Chapter 610, gives the manager pretty broad authority to provide some regulations related to refuse collection. And so part of what I want to do is walk this through there. If I got council support, then we'll start meeting with all of the business owners and start putting the directives together to have them take their refuse and deposit it into these dumpster enclosures. And obviously DPS will schedule the pickup with the contractor. So the first area A, encompasses a pretty broad area. And we think that by doing, putting that dumpster enclosure, then we can get a lot of that area off. Well, we can get all of it off the street, and we may have to consider maybe a second pull because it is a pretty large area. If you go further west, you'll see it highlighted by green. That area on the west front, I think, picks up some of the Sterling Hotel there. They take care of their own anyways, but it encompasses those other businesses along West Front. And you can see where the blue is there. There's a dumpster enclosure right where the B is, just to the south of it. We would be utilizing that existing dumpster enclosure, probably putting a 6-yarder in there, 1 week collection, we think should be sufficient. And then the other part, as you go further west, you'll see it kind of in gold. There's again, another existing dumpster enclosure there. We would utilize that to serve the rest of that area. And then as you go further west, beyond Area C, now you're at the Knights of Columbus. And so part of what it is, kind of evaluating who are the existing users, where are they taking their refuse? If putting it on the curb, others have provided their own service and had their own private pickup. But the one thing that when we were looking at through our GIS department was we have 32 registered apartment rentals that are on our waste management collection schedule. When you calculate $148 a year, roughly it's going to be somewhere about $4,700 per year. Doing a quick calculation, Patrick and I were about $9,300 for the dumpster enclosure. So you're looking at a net cost of roughly, from an operating standpoint, about $4,600 per year. But it starts the process in this immediate area of getting the refuse off the curb and into a central location with that. Again, we'd have to build that dumpster enclosure for Area A. I would anticipate that would come out of the city refuse fund. We do put money in there for that, at least one every year, and that would probably be the first candidate. So while there's more work to be done, I really wanted to get city council's thought and input on it before I started, because our next step, if council is fine with it, is to send out letters to the property owners and probably even start scheduling on-site meetings to start the process and give them the vision. So thoughts, comments?
Step forward.
Yep, John. John, you said step forward, right? Correct?
Yeah, it's a good step forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Brian.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple of questions regarding looking at Area A and looking at the site that you're putting it at. The people across the street, I mean, are they just basically going to have to walk across the street with their trash, or, what's going to be their limits? Is it going to be unlimited, or is it not going to be unlimited? That type of thing.
Well, given the fact that most of them are, some of the commercial businesses are going to have fairly small volume. They're primarily going to be residential. And so with their apartments, and that should be more than adequate to take it over there. One interesting thing that in talking with Paula this morning, her thought was a lot of them already park over there anyway. So if you're on your way to, to get in the car for that day, take your bag of garbage and pitch it in there. So I think, we tried to locate it as convenient, and particularly with some of the businesses on Monroe, but, we would work with some of the design for the enclosure to make it, and, this is not, cast in stone. It just gives you a general location of where that would go. More details regarding, the design. My preferences on these type of things obviously is, masonry, make it attractive for the downtown. So.
And also, will they all be locked up? Will they each have a key to get into this enclosure?
Good point. We probably will end up there. I would prefer not to, but I also have experience where they start to take on a community aspect. And if they do, we can always take that route. The other thing with it is, and somewhat related to that is, we would look at installing cameras in these areas as well to see, who is using it, or more importantly, who would potentially be abusing it. So.
That was my next, my other question was, is it unlimited or is it not unlimited?
Well, it's a, we're not going to put a limit on it, but obviously, given the use, it should be more than adequate for the collection. if someone starts an unlimited pickup here coming from an apartment or a series of apartments, we'll start having problems. And in part, that's why I think having a camera to keep an eye on who's using it and where's it coming from. Because, you know, my past experience elsewhere is you can have folks bringing from outside the community into your community for pickup, and that's really what we have to try and avoid. It's there for the businesses and for the downtown residents, and candidly, that should be sufficient. If we find on a regular basis that we need to have a pickup more frequently, we can always schedule that.
Michelle Germaini.
How many residents do we have in that area? Do you know, Vince?
Be 32.
32
32,
total. That's in the apartments and the businesses, or just apartments?
Just apartments.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That was my thought when I saw it.
That's a lot of garbage. Okay.
Now, these 6-yard dumpster is pretty good size.
Yeah, it is. My concern is crossing the street like with Brian. So I was following along that line. Thank you.
Brian?
Thank you, Your Honor. Any more access in that alleyway there or no?
You know,
Or is that-
I'm glad you brought that up because that is a good point of discussion. So if you look at the alley going from front to First, it's pretty narrow in there. And to the immediate west is the Monroe News Building. And that little cutout there west of the alley there is really where their refuse is. Now we've got a number of businesses in the one area. I think it's 44 South Monroe has that, what looks like a little green belt in that area there. In some ways, it'd be nice to have some outdoor type of activity out there, but that may be something I think in the future, if you could schedule it or program it to again, maybe have a dumpster enclosure that could be used for that west side of Front Street as well as South Monroe. But obviously that would require some land acquisition. There was even some discussion of trying to maybe approach the Monroe News about that area that they have there, put in a larger dumpster that can be rolled out into the alley and use it for others as well. So,
John, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Your Honor. Vince, will the dumpster enclosures include space for recycling materials?
Initially, we don't have that planned. Our first goal is to get the refuse taken care of. But I think the sizing of it can be such that you can start adding some, certainly with area B, we've got plenty with that existing one that we could and probably even see. So when we design area B, we can probably look at doing a recycling, yeah, you know, having a dumpster that would serve just for recycled material.
Okay.
Other questions for Vince on this item? Paula?
I think it's a great beginning, and once we get started, we can see if it's a good fit or not and adjust it as it's needed to be. I would like to see us get recycling in there too, though, eventually.
Yeah,
But it's a good beginning. I'm happy to get it off the street.
well, if council doesn't have any, you know, I think at this point I'm getting, affirmative feedback. What we'll do is we'll schedule the meetings with the business owners to start going over what the plan is. The only other thing I might say is that we may end up doing something temporarily for area A to get it going, because it'll take a while if we were to do a dumpster enclosure to, do a design and build and what have you. So we may do something on a temporary basis until maybe even next season. So.
Very good.
Good.
Thanks, Vince. I think you have one more downtown item.
Next one. Oh boy, that's not real good to see. Oh, there you go.
You can try.
Yeah, there you go. That's much better. So just to give you a little background, we do a little evaluation of, the downtown area. There's certainly, I think, a core downtown area that's within, this is the Downtown Development Authority. And so you've got some appendages that come out from there. And the question is, well, is it really worth keeping them in there? And so the easiest thing to do is just do an evaluation of what's their base value when they were established and what's their current taxable value, and see what kind of capture that you would take place. So, we identified 6 different areas, named them A, B, and C. And going through them with the areas that we looked at is any area south of 6th Street. B is properties between 4th and 6th. Area C is all properties north of Vine. D is the Knights of Columbus. E is properties west of Smith. And then F is north of the river on Macomb Street. And so the thing with this is in setting it up, the GIS department basically gave us the analysis. The green represents those that have seen an appreciation in their taxable value since the district was established. The red obviously indicates negative. The white is primarily governmental or institutional type of properties. The blue has no value, more than likely looking at it, some of its parking lot or that type of use. And so this kind of gave us an idea what it looked like from a starting point. And then as we go through the following 6 slides, you can see what the impact was with the analysis. Oop, yeah, you skip the next one. There you go.
You want this one?
Yeah, that's it right there. So, oop, no, go
No,
back.
I was right. Sorry.
Yep, you're right.
Here.
So this is area A. Again, this is area south of 6th Street. You can see that there's only, I think, 3 properties that had seen a decline in their taxable value. But clearly the base value, the current taxable value from a real property standpoint is greater than the base value. It would make no financial sense to pull that out. And so, okay, that one stays, at least as we looked at it. Okay.
Next.
Yep. This is between 4th and 6th Street. There's, I think, 3 parcels in there that had a decline. But if you look at, again, the current taxable value is greater than the base value. So from a financial standpoint, there's no point to pulling that out of Downtown Development Authority. Next. C. Now this is, the properties north of Vine. This one is a real marginal impact here. You can see that in about 30 years, the taxable value has grown by $30,000. And so, the one part that's missing from this analysis that eventually will be added is incorporating the personal property taxes into that. And again, with some of the changes, I believe in 2014, where you now have, properties or certain personal properties under 80,000 for commercial use are no longer, they're exempt. That's changed the dynamic, and Annette talked a little bit about that in her budget presentation. Some of it's recouped with the personal property tax reimbursement from the state, but not fully. But what I do need to do is now start looking at the analysis. And this is really a candidate where when we start looking at the personal property base and value and the current personal property value, this is probably a candidate that we would recommend to be dropped off from the Downtown Development Authority. This is this is the Knights of Columbus. I'm not recommending that they drop it, but I just wanted to look at it. The purple is the post office. Gosh knows where that's going, but the Knights of Columbus is pretty prominent property in the downtown. If there's any redevelopment, it certainly would be a great candidate for consideration, given its point along the river there. So, but I wouldn't recommend that we drop it from the DDA. Now, Section E is essentially the Amit milling area. pretty drastic drop in taxable value. Annette and I were talking about it. She said today that, it could be a cool property. But right now it's a real drain on the DDA's tax increment financing. So, my thought would be if you drop it off, you'll increase their tax increment revenue to the DDA. And then this area is just north of the river on Macomb. Again, very, very marginal. And actually looking at some of the personal property tax, my sense of this is that it's actually a negative. Again, it's a drain on the tax increment capture of the DDA. Not what I would consider necessarily part of the core downtown area as well. So, but in essence, there's more work to be done by incorporating the personal property tax into the equation, as well as the reimbursement that comes therewith for the properties that are exempt for the essential service reimbursement. So, but I wanted to bring this up to you and let you know what we're working on. And then lastly is we can talk a little bit about the Scott Street fire station that I would recommend that we, I don't have that one.
Okay.
Yeah, just to add that to the Downtown Development Authority. So essentially we might be looking at more than likely 3 areas to drop off with the DDA, and then adding the Scott Street. And again, part of the reason for the fire station adding that property is the DDA has some flexibility with incentives that they may be able to add as that site looks to get redeveloped. So thoughts, comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, John, you have a question.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Vince, on this area F, that area down there that's orangish red, isn't that the Monroe Executive Center office building?
I believe it is, yes.
Why did that decline in value?
Don't know.
Doesn't ProMedica now own that? And
Yeah.
isn't it,
Yeah, I
But-
think so, yeah.
but are they, is it taxable?
I believe it is, yeah.
I mean, I thought that was one of the nicer office buildings that we had in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's a good point to raise that, John. I think what we should do is probably just reaffirm some of the information, make sure that we're
Yep, we
not
can do
missing
that.
something on it.
Yep.
Because Vince, what does the blue indicate?
Well, the blue is, I think if you go down a little bit further, Michelle, on there is taxable value of 0. On that specific site, I don't know why. In a lot of cases, it may be just a property that never had any value, and I'm not sure why that would not have been included in there. So
That's the parking lot.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It goes to the office building. That just, I don't know. I mean, I guess the data is what it is, but boy, I'm really shocked that property has declined in value.
Yeah.
Andrew, you have a question.
Thank you, sir. As we're considering throwing new properties into the DDA, the base year that's being calculated, is that the year that they join? Would that be this year if we were to do it?
Yep.
Okay.
Ryan?
Yeah, thank you. I think regarding the ProMedica building there, that purchase was within the last couple of years, and that could have been purchased at a lower price than the value. I'm just guessing or throwing that out there.
Yeah. Well, I could talk with our city assessor a little bit about maybe the history of the taxable value there on that one in particular. Any concern with the concept of dropping off any of these parcels, or would you prefer if I send it to you just as you have it here, and then I can continue to update it? But the idea is to try and I've seen it done in one other community that I'm aware of, where they had a large property owner closed their corporate office, and suddenly they didn't have enough money to, their TIF capture dropped to the point where they didn't have enough money to cover the debt. And their answer to it was to remove them from the downtown development district. And that's how they solved the problem.
Your Honor.
Yes, John.
Vince, which properties, I was trying to follow the various slides, which properties are you recommending to remove?
Well, I'm probably going to be F. The one north of Vine. I think, which one was that? That would have been C. And then E was the other one where the Amit Milling is there.
Can we go back to C?
Sure.
What's the property up at the north there that's in red?
That I don't know. That I don't know. And I don't know the magnitude of it. I guess, you probably could keep it as far as Noble if you drop those two off up there. My guess is that's probably where the drain is from a taxable value.
Yeah, Vince, those are a couple homes that have one of those commercial additions put on the front of them. So I believe there is a jewelry store and maybe an accounting office. I can't remember the names of them, but yeah, there are houses that had a building constructed on the front of them.
There's a shoe
Monroe
store.
Like Monroe Income Tax and the chiropractor office that was there.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, I guess it makes sense cutting it off at Noble.
Yeah.
I think, Michelle, you're correct. I think there's the Enchanted Shoes, Monroe Income Tax, and then the
Smith Insurance, possibly.
there's a sales shop for personals and small items. Name is recently changed. I apologize. I can't remember. Andrew. Oh, maybe you don't have.
Thank you, sir. No, two quick things. Do we lose any eligibility for redevelopment later on if they're outside of a DDA district and we're trying to redevelop these properties down the road?
You do lose the opportunity for providing some potential incentives, and again, part of the rationale, these are what I would consider, pretty long appendages from the core area of the downtown. And so that's why and in some ways, given the timing of when they were incorporated, it was prior to having corridor improvement authorities here in Michigan. And so you see a lot of cases where you have pretty extended areas like this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm assuming that by the additions that you want to make, you'd like to have this done before the demolition of the fire station. Is that correct?
No, I don't know if it matters. I say is the time where it matters is that it goes on the tax roll for 0 when that happens, and whether it does in the sequence. December 31st is when it matters. What's the taxable value at that point? Whether it's, it's right now it's a 0 because it's government use.
Okay.
Brian, and then I'll go to John. Brian?
Thank you. I think those businesses north of Noble are all out of business, A. And if we can go back to E, which I believe is Amit Milling.
Yeah.
I'm going to piggyback on what Andrew was just talking about. If you get there just a little further, there we go. I believe that we were talking about having a potential, not sure what you want to talk about, a pathway or walkway that may go through or around in that area. The old railroad tracks were there.
Exactly.
Is that going to, like Andrew was saying, is that going to impact if we want to do something along that manner?
I don't know to what extent we would have the DDA involved in that, but it could potentially.
Okay.
John?
Yeah, Your Honor, my comment on this property was that the Amit Milling would be better served by a brownfield redevelopment authority than the DDA.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly other development opportunities apart from the DDA that we could participate in. So.
Hey, any other follow-up questions for Mr. Pastu? Okay, seeing none, Vince?
Well, I'll just, what I'll do is I'll send this all to council, what we got, and there's more work to be done on the personal property end. And I'll keep you updated through my regular updates when I think this may be coming forth. So if you got thoughts, comments, just give me a holler, or some follow-up questions of why this parcel has lost some value, and I can talk with the assessor. So.
Sure, and that the recently named properties as would be helpful.
Yep.
I know that some have changed over as was said. Thank you.
Michelle, do you want to go to the next two?
I can, yes.
Oh, what? I still had one left with the downtown. Annette, do you want to talk about the PSD fairly quickly?
Sure. So Vince had me do a little bit of homework and research regarding the principal shopping district. I believe it was on one of the council goals for the year to determine whether or not a PSD district made sense for the downtown area as well. So my first step in doing that research was actually to just pull up the act that permits principal shopping districts, which is Act 120 of 1961. Apparently, they've made some changes over the last year to the principal shopping district that has made it more of a challenge to implement them, in that currently the city master plan must include an urban design plan designating the PSD district. And the current master plan for the city does not include an urban design plan that designates a PSD. So it's not, it's a hurdle, it's an impediment, but it's not insurmountable. So a principal shopping district would operate in kind of current practice, where you would apply a special assessment to properties in the district to cover certain activities that are identified. Many communities use them for maintenance and marketing in the downtown or in the PSD district, such that those types of activities are not fundable by a general fund or by the DDA, or there are more intense activity that's desired that isn't, there isn't a financial ability from the city or the DDA to pay for those things any longer. So the steps to doing it would be to form the PSD, appoint a board, do an assessment and prepare a report of those activities that the PSD would want to fund, and then initiate that special assessment process. I've been involved in a PSD before. The idea to establish some credibility with a short-term special assessment would make more sense, in my opinion, because it does tend to be somewhat controversial in that the special assessment is considered a tax above and beyond what a business outside the principal shopping district would pay. So it is a tough decision to make. Hopefully there would be communication that would go out, and a number of different invitations made for properties to contribute to those ideas. And the last thing to understand is that if there was any kind of special assessment assessed, it can only have a 5-year duration unless there is debt applied to it, in which case the duration of the special assessment would have to last as long as the debt period. The idea for downtown would be to create a district that is not the same size and scope as the DDA district. Therefore, there would be a separate board required. If the boundaries were exactly the same as the DDA district, the DDA board could act as the PSD board. But looking at the downtown and the areas that perhaps need the more intense maintenance would be those areas where there are more common users as opposed to standalone sites. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer as well.
If I might just add is that the statutory change was just adopted here in June, and one of the more significant impacts associated with it is that you can now collect on residential, whereas before it was limited to commercial. So earlier when we talked about there being 32 registered rental units in the downtown, I kind of went, wow, well, those would have been exempt previously from that. So you've got an expanding potential for, spreading the benefit, if you will. And I do think you have to target the benefit, whether it's enhanced maintenance in, promotion and marketing and or parking, those type of things are, legitimate uses of PSD. But the first order of business is we may have to do some amendment to our downtown master plan to incorporate that.
John?
Your Honor, I guess in regards to that, I don't think that's a big insurmountable deal. The DDA and the city funded the downtown master plan that was done by MKSK, and that includes a lot of urban design recommendations. And really all the planning commission would have to do is adopt the downtown master plan as part of the master plan or a component of it in order to satisfy the PSD requirement, in my opinion. I mean, we've already done it.
Yeah. If this may be a Jeff question, but did we not adopt the downtown master plan into the citywide master plan?
I don't know.
Yes, I believe it has been, yes.
Well, then there we go.
Yeah.
I think we should pursue it.
Oh yeah, that's just.
It's an opportunity, since based on our last budget, the general fund, which is the overall taxpayers, are paying close to $25,000 to subsidize downtown parking because of the validation program. And I think the PSD is a great way of assessing the property owners to reimburse the city for the validation program if we're going to still have the validation program. So that would be one expense, one reimbursable. So plus the maintenance.
Other thoughts? And probably we'll need to get additional information from Mr. Pastu as he works through that. And as Annette said, it was adopted. We'll get that verification, and then what next steps might be for council to take it up for consideration at a meeting.
We'll follow back up with that. Certainly with Annette, Jeff, Matt Buds and myself will come back with some more details on implementing that.
Okay. See nothing further. Your next item.
Your Honor, if I may, and council, I'm going to call an audible here. I want to, I guess, the order that we have them, I'd like to talk about a couple of lot splits that we've had. And if we don't have enough time at the end of the work session regarding the marijuana ordinance process, I may ask council just to amend the regular meeting agenda to treat it as a communication item for discussion. So
yeah, that works. I know that you're sending things forward to us on this, so that'll be great.
Okay.
The lot splits.
Michelle, can you move them down? There we go. This hopefully you can see this. Yeah, it comes in pretty good. There you go. Perfect. So we received a request from 1737 Oak. They're a 35-foot lot. They're requesting for us to consider splitting a portion of 1733. And I think the other one that is to consider is that we've got our eye on 1727, which is a rental in pretty bad condition. Jeff's got that on one of his, building. What's the bear stand for again?
Building Evaluation and Review Committee.
Yeah. So we have some concerns about its condition with that. So the context of it is if you do a split of that, the property owner would have a 70-foot frontage and therefore be conforming. I know Council Icoangeli had a suggestion after I'd sent that out a few weeks ago, but I just want to throw it out there for your thoughts, and maybe Council Member Icoangeli will talk about his idea of as well.
Would you like me to read the letter?
Oh, Mayor, do you want to do it now?
Yeah, let's do that now, and that way we can have discussion in full, knowing that the letter is. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. I wanted to send this letter about the lot of 1733 Oak Street that is empty. For many years, this property has been vacant. Since I've been a child, this lot has always felt like a part of our property. At some point in time, the city has regained it. My mother, Janie Black, has been living in 1737 Oak Street since the passing of my grandparents, William and Margaret Black. At this time, I'd like to let you know we as a family would like to combine this lot to 1737 Oak Street to finally make it official. We as a family want to be able to enjoy this property with our kids and grandchildren as we once did when I was a child. The property will be well maintained as our family house has burned over the last few months. We as a family have decided to rebuild. Even though we lost a lot of memories and it'll never be the same. It's time to move forward and start fresh. My grandmother would say one door has to close before another one can open. We'd like to open the new doors of this new house with a beautiful yard. We believe that by doing this, we can make a difference in our great neighborhood and bring back its dignity that I once knew. With that being said, we ask the city of Monroe to combine the lots for Janie Black and family. We thank you very much. Thank you from Kelly Black, Janie Black, and Orville Little.
Thank you. So Vince, if there's nothing further, you want to see if there's any comments from council?
Yeah, just what comments you might have.
Your Honor,
Yes, John.
Vince had sent out an email asking for comments. I gave him a comment. My comment was that if you take 1737, which is 35 feet wide, and 1733, which is 70 feet, you end up with 105 feet. My thought was, with the condition of 1727, that we split off a portion of 1733 to 1737 in order to give them a lot that's 55 foot wide, and then retain the balance of 1733 in the event that 1727 either improves, or if it doesn't improve, at some point it'll be demolished, and then we end up with another buildable lot. So I was trying to position us where we would end up with in the future, an additional buildable lot on the street. Because that would then make eventually 1737 and 1727 would have larger lots than what are currently in the plat.
So I'm looking here, the 1737 and 1727 appear they're 35-foot lots.
Correct.
And the 1733, which is with the city, I'm just looking it up here, has a
70 foot.
70 foot. Okay, so you're okay. So Johnny, you're saying to split it in the middle, or
no,
or make it so the one lot becomes compliant.
You could split it in the middle, but the city still retain 1733. I don't want to push it over to 27 because we have issues with that house.
Exactly, I agree.
But then that would make the 1737 lot, it'd be 35 and it'd be a 70-foot wide lot.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I get it. Other thoughts or comments? Kelly.
I'm sorry, Vince, I didn't hear. How much did the family say they needed to build a new property on the lot?
I don't think they put anything in the letter, but they would need at a minimum 15 feet, I believe, to have adequate frontage to be a conforming residential parcel.
Okay, so with John's idea, that would give the family at 1737 enough space to be buildable?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
it'd be 70 feet at that point.
It'd be
Okay.
about the same
Yeah.
size as some of the lots over in Cranbrook and Frenchman's Bend.
Yeah, that 1727 has been looking bad for quite a few years now. I don't know who owns it, but to my recollection, it hasn't been rented out in a long time.
And that may have been part of the reason for, Jeff and his group looking at it, is that its continued deterioration and lack of occupancy is, yeah.
Yeah, it looks bad.
So, but if council's okay with it, we can prepare, work with the city attorney to split 1733, 35 feet going to 1737, and then we retain the other 35 feet for the time being.
Yeah, I think that's what we're hearing. Sounds
Okay.
good.
If I may, Matt, we do have to bring this back to council, though, right, for formal action?
Your Honor, so if there was an interest in either amending the agenda tonight on the regular council meeting to proceed and authorize that to occur, that would be fine. Or, and probably preferable in my mind, let's get the documents together, get it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know the direction and then proceed from there.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we'll do that. So, one of the meetings in September, we'll have it back before you.
Good.
Sounds good. Did you have another one? Or was that the only one on there?
Yeah, there's another one out there that we received a request, and this is from 10 Winston Court. You can see that odd shaped parcel, I think was Park at one time. And they were, I think, I have not had any contact with them. I think Mr. Cochran did, but I think, again, just measuring oddball 40-foot frontage, plenty of area in the back for a home, but it would be non-conforming as far as the frontage. And again, I don't see there being, having talked with Loretta, there isn't any plans for any kind of park improvement back in that corner.
Your Honor.
Yes, John.
Don't want to be a stickler, but I think when you have a trapezoidal lot like that in a subdivision, you don't take the frontage. The frontage is actually computed a little bit differently by taking the mean distance between the side yards because it's trapezoidal. So I'm looking at that and I'm saying to myself, that's a buildable lot. And maybe what we should be doing is advertising that with the realtor, because that's in a nice subdivision that's already got utilities. It's on a cul-de-sac. It's somewhat private. And you could put a nice house over on that property.
Looking in the GIS area, I was able to pull it up. It says the frontage is 140 feet. So John, it is a compilation of the different sides. It looks not obviously just what's on the court.
Yeah.
Brian.
Nice buildable lot.
Yeah, and I agree with you, John, on that. I agree. It looks like a good sized lot for that community, especially at the end of a cul-de-sac. That'd be very desirable to live in.
Other thoughts or comments from council?
Yeah, Your Honor, my thought would be this. We own the lot. My position is I'd be more than happy to give that lot to a builder or a developer or a property owner that would be willing to build a house on that lot, because the taxable value on that lot right now is 0.
Correct.
And if we had a new house built on that lot, based on today's construction prices, the taxable value on that lot would probably go up to $125,000. So my thing is that, let's put it out there. I don't even think since we own the lot, it's a great incentive to try to get new development in town is by, offering the lot for $1, as long as somebody pulls a building permit to put a house on it. I mean, that's my idea.
Other thoughts? It does make me think of a couple other lots that we as the city own that might be throughout the city. I'm not saying trying to do a whole city search to determine what that is, but we're going to entertain contact with builders of lot availability, is there one or two others that might be in a similar circumstance of having a desire for new build, and put them out kind of here's the lots that we're looking for a builder to construct on.
Didn't we decommission Calkins Park up there and Calkins Drive?
Not sure.
I believe so. Yeah.
And didn't we decommission the park in this subdivision? I think it was Hoffman Park?
Off of Jenny Place there at the end, that the larger property there. I know we've talked about that on to build, but then I think a developer didn't come through. Mark's smiling, so he knows what we're talking about. But yeah, that one hasn't. There's a park there currently.
Okay, but we didn't decommission it yet?
Good question.
I don't know. I'd have to ask Loretta.
But I like the mayor's idea. Why not put a package together and
Yeah.
maybe we can find a builder or two that would want to take on this?
All right. Well, let us, administration is more than happy to take a look at that. We can try and put something together and.
And John, you're correct. It's Hoffman Park is what it was discussed as. Not sure we did decommission it fully yet.
Yep.
Okay. Vince, I guess we'll continue.
We're what, 12 minutes after?
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah,
we can get through this in 10 minutes.
Yes, I'm a specialist at getting these in at the last.
Okay. We can always carry the conversation over.
Yep.
I'll start out then, Vince. After the last council meeting, talking about the ballot petition for marijuana, the ordinance that came down, the Community Development Department began looking at this. We've had some discussions with Vince since that time. And of course, with our consultant, Ben Tellerico. So we've been trying to come up with how do we tackle this situation? And we have come up with some ideas, which Vince asked me if I would kind of outline for you tonight. Again, nothing is set in stone. This is just kind of our idea going forward at this point. We're again looking for ideas and comments and thoughts. But essentially what we were going to start out with is creating a marijuana subcommittee, or city council will, which suggested members might be the mayor, a council member, the city manager, planning department, police department, building, water and wastewater, and of course, our legal counsel. And the idea of this committee would begin to look at how we form this ordinance or ordinances, because certainly there may be more than just one in this setup. And what the committee would also do is begin to vet the regulatory language of the ordinance and kind of coordinate with the CPC, the Citizens Planning Commission. So what we're looking at is probably at least two separate pieces of legislation, maybe a third, but the first would be the regulatory ordinance itself for marijuana. And of course, all this is premised upon the fact that City Council wants to move forward and at least look at some ordinances related to that. So the regulatory ordinance would provide direction on a number of things. It would kind of call out the methods of licenses and applications, insurance requirements, evaluations, the number of patients that can be there at any time, how long applications are good for, how to renew applications, hours of operation, all those general kind of regulatory things. It might also address the types of operations allowed. For example, what would City Council want to offer? Would you want to have provisioning centers and growers and processors and transporters and testing facilities? Or would you want some of those or one of those or all of those? It also would address the process and procedures for license revocation or suspension or denials. A second article in this section might also identify the prohibited activities, things like what the community does not want to happen with one of these processing centers or growers or processors or transporters, those kind of things. So that would be the regulatory ordinance. And then secondly would be a zoning ordinance. And essentially, again, this would carry out all the typical zoning requirements, the maximum number of facilities that we would allow, site plan application and requirements, minimum distances from specific uses such as residents, schools, parks, playgrounds, daycare facilities, religious institutions, libraries, substance abuse facilities, and those kind of things that we would look at with a use like this. It would identify the maximum number of facilities, buffering and screening around facilities, issues related to odor control, because a lot of these processors, if you allow a marijuana processor, there are going to be odors that emanate from that facility. The types of minimum conditions that we would want to see, safety compliance requirements, signage, all of those. We may go as far as looking at an overlay district for something like this, but we don't know that yet. And then finally, the third piece of this process would be the selection criteria. Now, that may also be a separate part of the ordinance or a separate piece of legislation, or it may be wrapped into one of these others, but essentially the selection criteria would be a well-documented process of how what you would need to make an application, the investment level that you'd want. Maybe it's a competitive process that you set up. Ultimately, the decision for that will come back to you as a city council. Who is going to get these licenses for the types of uses, the types of processes that the city, if it decides to go forward with this, will allow. So that's kind of the how we laid it out, but I'd be happy to try to address any questions. Again, this is just a framework, an outline that we've been kind of putting together in the past couple of weeks to come up with something to bring back with you. And again, to get started, if that's the wish of council.
John.
Your Honor, thanks. Jeff, is the first ordinance that talks about the types of operation and all that and licensing, is that going to be police power ordinance you envision?
I do. It's, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I do.
And then the second one is in the zoning code.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all the typical things that we would think of as part of a zoning ordinance, but we're kind of breaking them out separately so that we can get them through.
Mayor, I like the idea of the subcommittee. I think it'll help move things along faster.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's when our last discussion we had and the action that we took at the last council meeting, we really got down to just what Jeff presented and the nice details that would fall in each of those three: type, location, application. And I think those are the things in which you can manage and put together items that would be beneficial for those, what may become available, and then how they could work through that process. So I think a subcommittee, and we'll maybe get Ms. Green and city manager back and say, how we got to make it manageable as well in a committee, but what's the numbers and how many, and see who from council may have an interest in, and as we want to move forward. I agree. Other thoughts? We got about a minute. So I'll go with Kelly, do you have your hand up? No. Okay, Brian.
Thank you, Your Honor. I agree with having a subcommittee. I think that's a great idea, as well as maybe having them work together with the CPC, putting all those people together and coming together and getting a decision that would make some kind of sense for us at City Council. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and I think Vince covered, some of the departments there, and you think the water, wastewater, well, there's a significant impact there if there's a type that's going to be permissible, that's going to utilize water and have an impact on those services. So really want to look at it holistically as we go through it, and every aspect that may be impacted from the department services. Sounds good. Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, if you, what we can do is bring this back, if council, just probably a resolution kind of appointing the subcommittee, and I think Mr. Green and I will work out some of the details of how the subcommittee can work concurrently with the Citizens Planning Commission. So you have, kind of the police powers end of it being developed, and the CPC engaged with some of the land use planning aspects of it as well.
Kelly.
Kelly, you're muted.
Oh,
she's still there. Kelly, did you have a question? Not hearing, maybe.
She's not speaking, so
Yeah,
maybe she doesn't.
maybe it's not.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask about a timeline. I don't know how many noticed, but social media is not happy with us. And can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you
I'm
now.
having a lot of issues with
That's
my
okay.
connection here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having problems.
Well, let me answer
So,
Kelly's question about a timeline.
Yeah.
Jeff and I said that, we think we can move this along probably 4 months and have something close to being wrapped up.
Can you hear me now, Your Honor?
Yes, Ken, Kelly. Vince was just talking about the timeline and then obviously recognition of the input from the community.
Yeah, we think we can have this, if we start 1st of September, pretty much something in place for council to act upon by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, I'm having problems.
Let me answer Kelly's question about the timeline.
Yeah.
Jeff and I said that, we think we can.
Okay, I think the councilwoman's, there's a delay in her getting the messages and the audio coming through, but we did, I think, address at least there are 2 points there of the timeline and recognizing that there are those that are responding to our action. But as we said then, we made those actions to move forward with assessing what might be a path forward for those that have an interest. I know that we're really running the short on time here. We have about 7 minutes. We should probably wrap up, Mr. Pastu.
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Okay. So we just have to, well, we don't have to depart. We just wait for the regular meeting, correct, clerk?
Correct. And we'll stay on live on YouTube. I'm going to step away for a moment and but I'll be back for 7:30.
Okay, I guess at this time, we'll
Spot
just,
to sign in.
pardon me,
Do
Paula?
we have another Zoom that we click into? We just stay in this one.
We'll stay in this Zoom room, and this time I'll just close the work session, and we'll hold on here for the 6 minutes. And clerk comes back so we can start the regular meeting. Thank you all. And the live and YouTube is still functioning for those, so you're aware of that if you begin to speak.
Your Honor,
Yes, Kelly.
I got kicked out.
Yeah.
But you could still see me, but I couldn't see or control any of my dials. So I went on YouTube so I could still hear what you guys were saying.
Okay.
So I'm hearing feedback from YouTube. I straightened it out now.
Yeah, we said that it looked like it was a delay in you in technology there with the YouTube, which is good. So we did get your points.
Yes,
I know
I heard the
meeting's
answer.
closed, but we're gonna work through that, and I think that's a good considerations to take. I appreciate you bringing that up. So
Thank you. Yeah, I heard Vince's answer about 4 months. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. All right. We got
All right,
about
I'll
5
be
minutes.
right back.
Yeah. 5 minutes.
Shit.
Paula, if you can hear me, your audio is still activated.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Vince, does Ed need to be on the panel, a panelist? I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it would be good if you could make him,
Okay.
in the event there's a budgetary question with any of the items we have. There's a
Okay.
couple of them that potentially could be on there.
All right, I just brought him forward.
Okay.
And Michelle, I see that we have about 25, 26 participants. So I'll be prepared as we get into the citizens' comments at the beginning.
Okay.
Any letters, any items sent to you for inclusion of the one we had at the work session?
Not that I'm aware of. I
Right.
believe everything else that was sent was forwarded to council as well, and there was there weren't any formal requests.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Thank you.
I have 7:30, Your Honor, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'll look and see. All of council's here. So at this time, it's 7:30. Call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Angeli,
Present.
Vining,
Here.
Germaini,
Here.
Lamore,
Here.
Felder,
Here.
Whitman,
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Present. Clerk, if you would, invocation, and then we'll then lead in the pledge, please.
Guide our working together, give us wisdom to make the right decisions, your understanding to listen to each other, and your compassion to promote the welfare of the residents of this community.
Thank you. If you all please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the flag.
United States of America. And to the republic.
To the republic for which it stands. One nation. Under God. Indivisible. And liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. I'll see from administration or from the clerk if there's any amendments to the agenda.
I have none, Your Honor.
I don't believe we have. I think we took care of the items in the work session, the communication. So I see no items on the agenda to be, nothing to be added to the agenda. The clerk, next item, please.
The next item are citizen comments not related to an agenda item.
Thank you. At this time, we'll see if there's, I see there's one hand raised. We'll get to that first, but I would just make an announcement that We'll take comments not related to agenda item at the beginning of the council meeting here, but there's also the opportunity at the close of the council meeting. We'll always remind those that are participants that wish to step in to address the council, mindful of the chamber rules, just as if we're in session in the court chambers of 3 minutes, and please be mindful of your time, and we'll keep track if need to be. Clerk, at this time, I will let you kind of manage if you would, the call.
Sure. Representative Shepherd raised his hand, so I have moved him into the queue.
Okay, sounds good. And we'd ask, of course, a reminder that as you, if you call in, please identify yourself and your residence jurisdiction. Thank you. Representative Shepherd.
Well, good evening. Jason Shepherd, State Representative 56 District, 7235 Bent Creek in Temperance, Michigan. I decided to join the meeting because my name ended up in the Monroe Evening News because it was mentioned in one of your previous council meetings, and kind of wanted to come and answer any questions you might have to the comments that were put into the newspaper. I believe it was in regards to the mask mandate, and I know Councilman Lamore had asked to have us speak on that in the newspaper, I should say. So I'm here. So you got one of the three. How's that?
Okay. So I guess I don't know if there's a question from council. It did come up at our last meeting regarding, I guess, position on mask policy, and that's how it started, and that's where the conversations were from the council. Unless you have something that you wanted to add on your position on that, then what was maybe different or same or reinforced, I guess that's our opportunity if you wish.
So I guess my comment to that would be this: it's not about the whole situation that we're in. Obviously, is fluid, and we have been dealing with it. There's frustrations that mount when it comes to weekly changes to what's open, what's not, what's changed, what isn't. If masks are the answer, then why not mandate masks and open up our economy fully? If that indeed is the answer. If it's not the answer, then what does the mandate? I believe that allowing local businesses to have to police this is a very difficult position to put them in. Not only have they suffered over the last several months of closures and moving targets to remain open, but also now they're going to have to be in a position of, trying to manage this. And legally, they cannot ask what a medical condition potentially is. Somebody comes into their place of business and says, we cannot wear a mask because of a medical condition. They can't ask that question. There's a lot of laws and stuff around that. So basically, I think that the frustration is mounted that we do have a governor that is acting alone in decision-making, not including the legislature, by executive order through the state of emergency. As you know, the legislature is trying to rectify that situation, not only now, but in the future, to have the 1945 law ruled upon by our Supreme Court so that we can take the time to have the 28-day rule, which is the 1976 law, be in effect, where the legislature would have to approve extensions of states of emergency. I think that having one person making decisions this entire time is, in essence, detrimental to what progress we can make in the state. By no means am I diminishing a disease. By no means am I diminishing those that have suffered from it. I just think that we need to have some strategic policy that is vetted through the legislature going forward. And that's why the constant moving target is just not positive for the state, in my opinion.
Thank you for your comments. I know that there may be the opportunity of council as we come back to our own comment time at the close of the meeting, that may be council's opinions. At this time, we're taking the public comments not related to agenda item. And I'm sure there may be responses. I might have some thoughts as well, but I'm going to retain those until the opportunity for council comments. So we don't get into a dialogue or a debate regarding at this time. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy. You're muted, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I see no other hands raised.
Okay. If there's no other comments at this time from those that are on, before we move forward, Representative Shepherd, I'm sure if you stay with us during the meeting, that'd be great. And if not, I know by the time we get to the end, there'll be an opportunity at the close as well, if you're able to come back and see if there's other comments. Clerk Treasurer Lavoie, next item, please.
The next item is communication.
Mr. Pastu, any communications? I think we addressed the one at the work session, but then want to check, make sure there wasn't another.
Your Honor, this would be the related to the work plan for the CDBG program. If I could have Mr. Green just give a brief introduction.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. Mr. Green.
Good evening again. What we're looking at is, just to give you a little bit of background, during the 2019-2020 plan year, the city of Monroe was awarded $451,123 in community development block grant funds. Due to impacts of COVID-19 over the past year, just as you were discussing previously, $225,000 plus went unspent. As we were beginning to go through that, our CDBG coordinator, Caitlin Pierce, who's with us tonight online, found that there was a balance of $100,000 or just over $100,000 remaining from the Dorsch Library project, which was completed a few years ago. This brought a total amount of money up to $325,716 that was available. Now, the reason this becomes important is the fact that, as I think many of you are aware, we were proposing to develop and replace the kitchen equipment and make an update and the original kitchen area at the Arthur Lesso Community Center. As the design review continued, it became apparent that the existing space could not be effectively used and the kitchen would need to be moved to another location within the building. This relocation will require considerable renovation to other spaces in the building, thereby increasing overall project costs. As such, the Community Development Department is proposing, in conjunction with the city manager and Mr. Sell, the finance director, of proposing an amendment to the 2019-2020 annual action plan, which would reallocate these funds, this $325,716.24, to the Arthur Lesso Community Center project. So that's what we're proposing here tonight. That's the public hearing that you will have before you and action a little bit later in the agenda. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or Caitlin is here and would be able to answer any questions that you might have.
Excellent. I think it's a good review and explanation of the funds and the purpose, but I'll give council an opportunity if there's any questions I may have for you or for Caitlin. John, our Councilman Michelangelo, I'm sorry.
That's all right, Your Honor. Just wanted to say, nice job, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great project, and to have the staff be able to locate that funds is beneficial not only to the cost, but the community as a whole, and to get a project completed with funds that are here. So thank you again. No other comments from council. Thanks, Mr. Green, and thanks, Caitlin.
Thank you.
Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is public hearing, item 2850, public hearing to receive and review comments on the proposed 2019-2020 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan Amendment. And there are no comments on file in the clerk's office.
Thank you. And as we look through the agenda, of course, we had the communication. We have an action item later on in the council agenda. I think it's the last item that's listed, but at this time, we're going to open the public hearing regarding item 2850, the public hearing to receive and review comments on the proposed 2020 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan Amendment. So I'll ask if there's any that are have joined us this evening, any public comment from those that are present this evening. I'll scan if there's any comments present, any hands raised, and I'm looking at the clerk to see if there's any that can be identified.
No hands raised, Your Honor.
Okay, at this time, I'll see if council has any comments in the public hearing. If not, we can obviously add comments later if wish to pull that item. Seeing none, we'll close the public meeting at this time. And clerk, next item, please.
One moment,
Sure.
please.
Absolutely.
The next item is council action. It's item 2836. Consideration to implement Medicare Advantage program and prescription copay changes.
Thank you. Mr. Pastu, do you have an introduction or some background in this?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have also as a participant tonight, Peggy Howard, our Human Resources Director, who's been involved with this process. Tonight, we're recommending council adopt the Medicare Advantage program for eligible retirees and implement a $5 generic $12 prescription copay for those retirees that still have the $2 prescription copay, and those with a $3 generic $10 as dispensed copay. We did have meetings the week of August 3rd with eligible retirees, and based on some of the comments that we received, particularly those older retirees with the $2 and $3 copays, city administration felt that we'd probably be better to implement the $5, $12 copay for these retirees. Initially, we had presented a $10, $20 copay, and I've had some discussion in the past with council, but based on the feedback of the meetings, we thought that this may be the best approach to it, appreciating the impact it will have on some of those elderly retirees. And so, based on the case law, council's got pretty broad authority to make these changes as we had presented and discussed previously. So we're asking council to consider implementing the Medicare Advantage program along with the $5, $12 prescription copay for Medicare eligible retirees.
Okay, I'll take comments or motions. I see Brian has his hand up, and then I think Michelle does as well. Brian.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a quick question, a couple of questions. I had a couple of the retirees call me. Just give me some information regarding what their copay on their drugs are going to go up. One of them mentioned that it would go up by about $360 this year if we implement these changes. And my question, I think Councilman Michelangeli asked this last time we brought this up as well. Is there an HSA for them or something we can create to possibly defray some of that cost, based on the savings we're going to make for ourselves with the city? Or, how much of a saving are we talking about by implementing this program? And if we do have such a great savings, is it enough to implement an HSA account? And maybe it should be directed more at Mrs. Howard than you, Vince. I'm not sure which way to direct this.
I'll start. Okay, Peggy, Ms. Howard.
Yes, thank you. Medicare eligible retirees are not eligible to enroll in a health savings account.
Okay.
With a health savings account, you can't have other insurance. You can have a high deductible healthcare plan, such as the Blue Cross Blue Shield, but they can't have Medicare. So once they're eligible for Medicare, they can no longer have a health savings account.
I mean, is there anything else we could provide for them to defray some of that additional cost they may be incurring, or is there no other way of doing that?
Vince, I'm not aware of anything else.
Yeah. If I may come back to that question, the answer is if, part of the rationale for going, getting away from the 1020 as initially proposed to the 512 is you've got clearly a lot better than half of your retirees will not see any impact at all on and recognizing those with $2 prescription and $3 prescription copays, trying to mitigate that impact is part of the rationale for going to the $5. For some of those that would have, conceivably you could go from $2 to a $20 for something that was non-generic, and that's where that can add up real fast. And so by going this route, we think it's the most, try to be a sensitive and balanced you know, the perspective of where we are financially. I think part of what I have to counsel is, again, I'll use the balance term, is, you know, we're looking at, you know, even 3-4 years down the road, with year one starting this past July 1st, is we still have some challenges related to our taxable value decline. This was one way of buying us a little over, you know, 4 or 5 years, we think, to resolve this with, you know, taking into account minimal impact for the vast majority of the retirees. So the context of it is, you know, we're trying to balance this the best that we can, taking all of that into account.
Councilwoman Germaini, and then I'll get to Councilman Eckelman. Yeah,
I have
you're good now.
sorry.
You're good.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, does this affect their copay for their doctor's visits, or is this just prescription? And what is the copay for the existing retirees besides this group? What's the difference?
Most of the co-pays now, I'm trying to think, I don't have the side by side in front of me, but the office copay for Medicare Advantage is going to be $10. And then I think emergency fee, I think it's about $65. So let me see if I can find that side by side.
You know, I think most of the feedback we got from the retirees, as Peggy's looking that up, is positive as it pertains to the Medicare Advantage component. You know, where we got the, you know, the negative pushback is retirees with the $2 and $3 prescription copays. Actually, in some ways, it's a really good program, much easier for the retirees to use. And in many ways, you know, even like the emergency room visit is eliminated if you're, you know, hospitalized. So, and it's currently lower than what you'd be paying as well. Peggy?
But you have to be hospitalized.
Yes.
Yes.
There didn't seem to be any kind of complaint regarding the benefit itself, other than the fear they had with the increased prescription drug copay.
Councilman Eckelangeli, and then I might have a comment.
Okay, Peggy, question, how many retirees are on the $2-3 copay?
Let's see, for the $2 copay, we've got 54. On the $3 copay, we've got 73. So that's almost half of our retirees, because we've got a total of 262 retirees that are eligible for Medicare.
Yeah, something I had received some calls from some of the retirees, the $2 and $3 group. They understand why the city is doing what it's doing in order to increase the cost to the retiree, because they haven't had an increase. They've been paying the same thing for quite a while. However, you know, the jump is, you know, it's significant for some of them. Those that have been retired 15 or 20 years, their pension's based on a salary that they had 15 or 20 years ago, okay? One of the things I had thought about was, since we are, if this is implemented, we stand to save between $400,000 and $500,000 a year, would be, what about the idea of carving out $25,000 and using it as over a period of a couple of years, just to get them to a point where they're gradually contributing, you know, carve out $20,000 or $25,000 and then have at least a partial subsidy program that maybe subsidizes or offers them maybe $250 or $300 a year back on what they have to pay based on receipts that they turn into the Human Resources Department. It's kind of a way of gradually getting the increase to where we need it.
As we ponder that, and I want to make sure Mr. Pastu or Peggy review what was originally proposed and what this now says. So, because some may have awareness that it was proposed higher to begin with and have come back to what's being presented this evening. So while there is revenue savings comes to the city, it might have been less than was originally discussed. And I want to make sure all the retirees know where we transitioned, where we started to where we are now, if that makes sense, Vince, and what the savings might be.
So when we started the presentation the week of August 3rd, we were looking at a $10 generic, $20 as dispensed prescription copay. And at that point, we were saving a little over 500 and something $1,000 per year. When we went to after the meetings, we huddled up and decided, maybe we should just go with the 512. Again, as Peggy indicated, that's better than 50% of the retirees would be, not seeing any change except a better Medicare Advantage program. But it comes down into the 439 range was what I think it came down to. And so we thought, that's, it's about $100,000 reduction, but still, try to, mitigate that. So, and as you were saying, some of them may have not be aware that we recommended going to the 512. That I don't know.
And I'll just follow up as the council thinks about that. I received a couple calls and a couple emails, and I think as it was became aware to them as the adjustment the city made, they were appreciative of the fact that it was lessened from the initial discussion. And the few calls I received were, I'll say, more favorable and accepting of this as a kind of the compromise in not being as much of an impact with some of them that called. Understanding it is an impact, but it's also kind of the balance as we continue to talk about. I'll see if there's any other follow-up comments or questions from council. Yes, Councilor Michelangelo.
Yeah, Your Honor. Vince, typically the copay between generic and brand name is usually an even number, 10, 20, 15, 30, 20, 40. Where's the 512 come from? Why isn't it 510?
I have no reason to give you an explanation. I was surprised myself. I don't know, Peggy, if you know the history of that.
I don't, but we've had a 512 for one of the groups that's been having that plan for probably 25 years. It's never been discussed with the city by Blue Cross Blue Shield, but we have always had that 512 for many, many years. And so they deciding to maintain that.
I see Mr. Sells joining us. I don't know if he's joining us and he might have something to add here. So Mr. Sell, I have a comment.
Yeah, just looking in the background here. So I can comment on this one real quick. When I first started at the city around 2005, we were in the process of changing from a 310 copay to a 512. So that's the first time that had come into play, and then it's gone up from there. It eventually went to 1020 and then to 1060. But that's where the 512 first came into play.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
So, Your Honor, just to follow up, some of the retirees that were on the 2 and 3 plan may not be aware that the city changed it from 1020 down to 512.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring this to the discussion in case they are listening in or may not have known, so we can make sure that message gets out. And it is I don't call it a compromise, much the balance of what was first presented to where we are, and it still puts the city in a good position without adding that additional cost to the retirees as was originally presented. So I don't know how many may have been at the first, or maybe the further discussion if Vince or Peggy have that, but I agree, John. I think it's probably some information some did not have.
That information is going out from Blue Cross Blue Shield. Vince did prepare a letter informing the retirees of the reconsideration from the 1020 to the 512. That letter should have went out from Blue Cross Blue Shield to the retirees, to their homes, along with a packet that describes the benefit package. And we've set up additional meetings for September 1st and 3rd. That'll be face-to-face meetings and also Zoom meetings. So Blue Cross Blue Shield will actually attend and describe the plans and the advantages of the plans.
Brian, you raise your hand?
Yeah, is it possible that maybe they haven't received this letter in the mail yet due to the delays with the mailing?
I'm sure they probably have not, because if it just went out from Blue Cross Blue Shield on Friday, I was hoping that they'd have it by at least Tuesday, which would be tomorrow.
Councilman Michelangelo.
Honor, is there a time frame that we have to approve this this change?
Well, we'd like to have it in place for the meetings in September 1st and 3rd, to be honest with you. You know, we did mention that in the letter that we were recommending that council consider the 5/12 with that. So the one thing that we really are targeting to do, if we're gonna do this at all, is to have it in place by the end of the calendar year, so that when we do the actuarial valuation, that you know, we get the benefit of you know, the savings that would be recognized in future budgets for this. So,
Excuse me, Vince, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Blue Cross Blue Shield is ready to implement this October 1st.
right.
And so like I said, the letter will be going out. Hopefully they'll have it by tomorrow, and we'll have the informational meetings, but they'll have everything ready to, I mean, they'll flip the switch October 1st, unless the city says, we don't want to do it right now.
Your Honor.
Councilwoman Germaine raised her hand, and I'll come back to you, Councilman.
So can we postpone this until we're sure that they get the letter so they're not blindsided? And I just feel like we're pulling the wool over their eyes a little bit, even though it's a lower cost. I'm not comfortable with it. Is there a way to do that?
My recommendation is, if you're inclined to do it, let's go through with the meetings. I mean, we've got to do something, because your decisions aren't going to get any easier. If we're not willing to do this, you are going to be confronted with more difficult decisions to balance the budget. And so what I would recommend is, you know, consider doing the adoption tonight. And if you get a horrible blowback after the meetings on the 1st and 2nd, and you just say, chuck it all, then you can do that. But I think by and large, by that time, folks will know what, you know, what they have in front of them.
I know two of the contacts I had came after this. They must have picked up along the change, and were appreciative of that, taken into consideration, but yet understanding where the city was, and they were supportive. Councilman Michelangelo.
Yeah, Your Honor, I just was going to comment. A couple of the retirees that did call me today were still under the impression it was going to be 10/20.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I think the 5/12, if the administration listened and went back and dropped it from 10/20 to 5/12, I think that's a pretty reasonable compromise.
I think it meets the needs of both.
I think so too.
Yeah. And I agree, Councilwoman Germaine, that and as Vince says, if we start to get some feedback, otherwise, knowing we have to do something here, and if we can always reevaluate, but I know we need to move forward and get the things in place, as both Peggy and Vince has said, so we meet these timelines for the long term. So, Councilman Michelangelo.
Just one last comment, Your Honor, based on some of the comments that I did receive. All of the retirees were all very appreciative of the city's pension and healthcare policies. So there was no complaints on that end at all.
Yeah. So this item's up for council action, and I'll look to see if there's any movement forward or motions from council. Councilman Michelangelo, and then I see Councilman.
Yeah, Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we adopt the Blue Cross Medicare Advantage program for eligible retirees, and implement a 5/12 prescription copay for retirees that currently have the two $3 prescription copay plans, and maintain the existing copay plans for the remaining Medicare eligible retirees.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilman Lamore on item 2836. as stated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Michael Angeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Germaine,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Thank you all, Council, for the discussion and the administration. It's helpful to be able to put this so not only retirees, but the community sees the work put into this. Thank you. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is item 2838, consideration to adopt COVID-19 emergency reopening resolution number 3.
Mr. Pastu, are you going to do an intro or somebody else?
If I may, Your Honor, essentially the resolution is submitted, would cancel the recreation programs until further action by the City Council, which would more than likely be at least the remainder of this year. We have a few programs that we've operated in the fall. Park reservations are canceled again until further action by the council. This would include individuals or private groups as well. As indicated in the fact sheet, we've received some inquiries and organizations using city facilities in lieu of our own recreational programs. In the past, these requests have been rejected due to concerns about maintaining appropriate social distancing. The third is that it cancels all special events until further action by council. It's drafted also that the council may consider approving a special event such as Halloween, trick-or-treating, or even Christmas holidays. That I think we can address at another meeting if necessary. But it does give the core of canceling special events and the recreation programs. Obviously, it maintains the First Amendment protections to free speech, assembly, and protest. And then it continues the remote meetings until further no longer authorized by governor.
Any questions for the administration? If not, moving forward for the reopening resolution number 3. Councilman Lamore.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I still want to address the issue of, and I do appreciate the fact that there are people getting sick from COVID-19, and I understand that. However, are we doing more harm than good in some instances? That's my only question, because a lot of these recreation activities have shown and put great effort forth to make the social distancing and to keep the facility, whatever it is that they're doing, a clean activity and to maintain the social distancing. So I'm not certain if I include all of our recreation activities into this plan, but that's just my input towards it. And like I said, I do understand that there are people out there that have the concern. I'm just concerned that there are other people that are going to, it's going to be more of a negative impact to those people than a positive impact that's going to create for the COVID-19. So I'm not sure if this is a really good idea to close off all of our recreational activities in the city of Monroe. That's all I'm stating.
I guess I'll make a comment to that, and then we'll see if there's other comments. So I think the word here is the recreational programs, which are programs that are managed by the city staff that are organized programs. Activities at the park are still open. The parks are open and activities can continue. I know I've seen people out on the courts, but as far as having organized programs is what the reference to. And I make sure that the public understands programs versus activities, and that if they wish to choose, as they do personally, that the parks are open for, I guess, visitation. Your Honor, if I can just respond to that real quickly. The one I'm really concerned with is probably Mesa, the soccer program. They've had some training as far as the social distancing goes. I'm not sure if this corresponds with them being able to do their recreational activity on our fields or not.
Your Honor, I think it would exclude Mesa from their fall program. Again, from a social distancing standpoint. Other activities like, pickleball and tennis, because the nature of those sports, there is adequate social distancing that is maintained, that those are still continuing and ongoing, but the rest of them, softball, fall softball or fall ball, and soccer, I would see as those that would be no longer going forward.
Other questions or comments from council? Councilman Michelangelo.
Your Honor, just a point of clarification. Mr. Pastou, you had mentioned that the Monroe Soccer Association would be exempt from this?
No,
They would not be.
they would not be.
Okay, I wanted to ask that. I thought I heard you wrong. Okay. Your Honor, I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 3 related to COVID-19 emergency reopening.
Support.
There's a motion by Councilman Michelangelo, supported by Councilwoman Whitman on item 2830. I'm sorry, yes, 38, regarding consideration to adopt the COVID-19 emergency reopening resolution number 3. Final comments. Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Michelangelo,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Lamore,
No.
Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is item 2837, consideration to initiate process to demolish Scott Street Fire Station.
Mr. Pastou or administration?
Yep. We're requesting authorization to initiate the process to demolish the Scott Street Fire Station. We have some remaining proceeds from the bond issue associated with it. Still environmental due diligence that needs to be done, an asbestos survey, as well as I think Mr. Lewis, our city engineer, thought there may be an underground tank somewhere. This would initiate the process, and we're just looking to start the due diligence with that, and certainly keep council updated as we get to a point where if it's the desire to council to knock it down, then we can do so.
Any questions or comments from council? Okay. We're looking for council action regarding this item.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to authorize city administration to begin the initial process to demolish the Scott Street Fire Station.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilman Michelangelo. There's a tie there. So Councilwoman Germaini, support, and no other comments. I should have asked Clerk Lavoie. I know that you're monitoring those are there. If there was any comments on the items that I know you'll let me know. Thank you.
I will. There weren't any.
Okay, thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Michelangelo, Vining,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda, and for item B, approval of payments, the amount should read $853,282.16, 853,282.16.
Thank you. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion? Items on the consent agenda for council. And while you continue to look, if there's something that in your notes, I'll go to, Councilman Felder.
Item 2833.
Other items on the consent agenda council wish to have pulled? At this time, I'll ask if there's any items on the consent agenda, those that are in attendance to our Zoom meeting, wishes to have pulled for further discussion. I know the clerk is looking.
I'm monitoring and I see nothing yet, sir.
And I've not seen anything pop up as well. So we have one item with that, looking for a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Your Honor, with the exception of item 2833, I would move that all of the communications on the consent agenda be approved and actions authorized.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Akalanich, supported by Councilman Lamore, that all items on the consent agenda minus item 2833 be accepted and placed on file and the recommendations carried out as stated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Equangeli,
Yes.
Vining,
Yes.
Germaini,
Yes.
Lamore,
Yes.
Felder,
Yes.
Whitman,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is item 2833, purchase of police vehicles.
Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to take the opportunity and use this item to get an update on the implementation of our enterprise rental program as pertains to municipal vehicles.
I'll look to Mr. Pastu and
because we're about to purchase more vehicles, and
Yeah.
it's been my understanding in the past that we're trying to move towards a rental program.
right, and maybe it might be also if Chief McCormick has anything to add, but I'll start with Mr. Pastu.
Certainly.
So I think that this is, gosh, if I remember, it was August of 2018 when we initiated this process with Enterprise. So we had just completed a full year of that, and so needless to say, Mr. Sell seems happy with it. I seem happy with it. City engineer, DPS director, and Bill Walters, superintendent there, they've all thought it's worked out well for us. We've gotten, some savings, related to the sale of the vehicles, but also the timely turnover so that they don't become problems associated with repair and maintenance. But having said that, we do owe council an update where we can provide some analysis. And since we had the meeting, here in the last month, Ed, that we can provide council with some of that information as to how the program has worked.
I'll see if Mr. Self. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll see if Mr. Self has anything to add or updates at this point, or just looking forward.
No, I don't really have anything specific to add at this point. I think what Vince said is correct. We are happy with the program. I mean, if you recall back when they gave us the analysis, there was not only are we leasing the vehicles, but they're helping to sell our vehicles that we're replacing. And we didn't do quite as well the first year on what their estimate was of what we were going to get from selling them. But the second year has been great. It worked out really well. And we were getting rid of a lot of pretty old vehicles that first year. So we just didn't get out of them what the estimate was. One or two of them didn't even run actually when they were trying to sell them. So I think it's worked out good, and we actually are in the process of getting, I think, another 10 delivered here sometime later this year. And I guess the other thing we wanted to talk about is starting next year, we're actually going to look at rolling the police vehicles into this program as well. There's quite a lead time on doing that, so we haven't been able to get that underway yet, but that's something we're probably going to do next year.
And that's for the lease end of it.
Correct.
Right now, we're just doing the outright purchases, but eventually we're looking to do the leasing end of it, incorporate that.
Okay. Council.
Go ahead. Sorry, Your Honor.
No.
Does that have to do with the size of the police fleet or just the specifications that those vehicles require after market purchase?
I think ours was just managing the program to get it started. Because there's a pretty consistent year after year purchase of the patrol vehicles. And so there's a good routine in there, and I think we can, get that program. But also, some of the things with police vehicles, at least I've had the experience, is you may have one in your fleet that's problematic, and sometimes it's better to get rid of them early rather than to dump a lot of repair money into it. And those are the benefits that we have with their maintenance monitoring program.
So because that process of rotating police vehicles has actually worked so well, it's one of the lower priorities on the list. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, because we've had a pretty standard program in there, but I still think it's a good program now to incorporate the lease end of it.
Okay. Thank you for the update. Unless anyone else has any comments.
I see Councilman Moore has a comment, I believe, and then if not, I'll come back to Councilman Felder.
Yeah, I was just going to make a motion, Your Honor.
Well, I'll give Councilman Felder the opportunity since you pulled it from the discussion if he wishes to do so.
Your Honor, I would move that item 2833, purchase of police vehicles, be approved, and that we, for a price of $220,559 from Signature Ford of Owasso.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Moore on item 2833, the purchase of police vehicles, be accepted and carried out as stated in the motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Eko-Angeli.
Yes.
Beining.
Yes.
Germaine.
Yes.
Wilmore.
Yes.
Felder.
Yes.
Whitman.
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes.
I have no further items, Your Honor.
Thank you. It's council comments. Councilman Eko-Angeli, first up.
Thanks, Your Honor. I got a couple of them. First, received a few phone calls from folks that either bike along Custer or walk along North Custer, and the elevated intersections that we asked to be put in, which really weren't put in according to what the council's vision was. They're still having problems with the speed of traffic and the inability to cross the road safely. I had sent to council today, maybe some hadn't had an opportunity to look at it, a video regarding what is known as a hawk pedestrian crossing. And I really do think, based on the amount of pedestrian activity along North Custer Road, we need to have two hawk crossings, one at near Richards, which is across the street from Veterans Park, to allow the people in Riverside Manor to safely cross the street. And we need to have one at Cranbrook Boulevard to allow the folks at Cranbrook and at Frenchman's Bend the opportunity to cross the street to get onto the trail and the bike path. I don't think we have any other options. People are not slowing down, and it's not pedestrian friendly as envisioned by the council. And I think it's appropriate to use Act 51 money. I know we can't do it this year, but we should budget it for next year in order to get those safety features up, in order to slow traffic down, allow people to use the signal to stop traffic to safely cross the road. That's my one comment. So I'm just kind of giving the administration forewarning, because capital improvements are going to start being discussed in November, that this will be a project that I'm going to be looking for in the budget. Secondly, this is a comment that basically is a follow-up to Representative Shepherd. My comments that were in the Monroe Evening News were based on the article that was in the Monroe Evening News regarding Senator Zorn, Senator Shepherd, and Senator Bellino, basically stating they felt it was an individual's right, to paraphrase, to wear a mask or not wear a mask. And I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I still think that's a lack of leadership at the state. It is exacerbating the problems that we're seeing in our communities. It's primarily making sure that businesses do not open in a timely fashion. And it's making sure that probably our schools are going to close again in the fall. Now, with that said, this Sunday, and the chief of police is aware of this along with the city manager. This Sunday, my wife and I were in a local restaurant in the city of Monroe having breakfast, and 10 people, a group together, 10 walked into the restaurant, none of them wearing masks. The proprietor of the business did nothing to even suggest that they go back outside and put a mask on. Instead, the proprietor talked to them in the hostess area, shook their hands, and then walked them through the entire restaurant to go to a meeting room in front of all the patrons, who I have to tell you looked with absolute paranoia on their faces. Now, based on that, I filed a formal complaint with the police department, and the chief talked to the county prosecutor, who then told me to file a formal complaint with my OSHA, which I have done. If restaurants in this town want to be open and encourage patrons to come in, then they need to follow the governor's executive order. Now, regarding the governor and the legislature, there is no way in hell that I want the legislature to be involved in coming up with executive orders. They couldn't get anything done. They don't rarely get anything done. Even when the legislature was under a Republican governor for several terms, they couldn't even figure out how to repair the roads. So there is no way under the COVID pandemic, which is a fluid situation, that I want the legislature discussing what we're going to do as a community and as a state. Those actions need to be taken decisively. They need to be taken timely, and they need to be taken with a degree of authority, just like every other state in the union where their governors are making these decisions. That's why we elect a governor, is to make those decisions. So I really disagree with Representative Shepherd. So that's all I have to say, and I'm pretty stalwart on this opinion, Your Honor, is that this is the reason why we're in the situation that we're in, is because of the different legislators, not only in the state of Michigan, but nationally, sending out the wrong message to people. So people don't know if they should wear or they should wear a mask. And that's why we're in the condition that we're in. Thank you, Your Honor. Lastly,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to ask Councilman Germaini, was Sebastian Germaini, which was in the Monroe Evening News, is that a relative, like a great-grandfather?
Well, it sure is.
He
Now
is
let him
my grandfather.
He's your grandfather?
Yes, that was my dad's dad, yes.
That was a wonderful story on him.
It was, and he wrote the theme song for Monroe High School that is still used today.
Well,
that
cool.
I do know.
That is correct.
Yes, it was a great article.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And so we'll go right to Councilwoman Germaini. She can talk more about her ancestors there. Go ahead.
Oh, we got Kelly.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman.
You want to go to me or go to Kelly?
I got to learn to count again. We're number 3 now. Councilwoman Vining, I'm sorry.
No comment, Your Honor.
Okay, my apologies. Okay, Councilwoman Germaini.
Thank you. I do want to thank the Monroe Evening News for putting that article in. I was very happy to see that. I had no idea that it was even going to be there. Aside from that, regarding the marijuana ordinance and people that are concerned about how we're handling it, I think we need to be clear and be organized in our process and the adoption of this ordinance. And I think the committee is a great idea to move forward. That way we'll be more organized and we'll make smart decisions in a smart way. And regarding the face masks, my personal opinion, I think we should keep everyone safe. I work with the public every day, and they should wear a mask around people just to keep each other safe. And that's how I feel. Thank you, Your Honor.
Very good. That's why we're here at the end of the meeting. It's council comments, and it's our ability to make our comments. And as we move forward through each of them, Councilman Lamore.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, I want to start off at a sad passing. I believe it was probably yesterday. A local priest in town, Father Stephen Rooney, had an accident out on the Detroit River and is believed to be not been found. And we believe that he has passed. It's a great loss to our community. Even though he had left the community a couple of years ago, there are still many people in the city of Monroe that are affiliated with him and followed him. And he was a great leader here, and he'll be sadly and sorely missed. On Councilman Michaelangeli's, the Hawk Crossing, I believe, am I correct in saying that, Councilman? Yeah, thank you. Can we add a third one to that list? Across from St. Mary's Park, from CC. I think that would be a great place to have one there. I know we have a crosswalk down the street across from St. Mary's Church going into that parking lot there. But that is very highly traveled and a quick turn light there, and people rarely stop at that crosswalk. So I think a third one could be added onto your list right across the street from CC at St. Mary's Park. I think that'd be a great place to have it because the community back there does use the park frequently. And I think it'd be well used and needed there. And I have no other comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just gratitude for all the sympathies that were sent to myself and my family after the passing of my grandmother last week. That's Marvel Felder left us. She was 89. She's lived a good life. She was ready. And she's certainly in a good place now. I thank everyone for reaching out. I much appreciate it. I can tell you my family appreciates it. Thank you, Your Honor. That's all I have.
Thanks, Councilman. Councilwoman Whitman.
Yes, Your Honor. Andrew, my condolences. And I was very sorry to hear about Father Rooney. He was very active when Paula's house, when I was first trying to find a location for Paula's house, he was very supportive and what a good man. Just what a good man. And I agree with John. I have a granddaughter that has cancer. When you wear a mask, you're not just protecting you, you're protecting other people. And I appreciate every person that wears a mask when they are around her. She wears a mask wherever she goes, but it's added protection because she's fragile right now. And it's not even for just the elderly. It's for people that have immune systems that are compromised. So I have very mixed emotions about it, but I'm not going to argue about it. People make up their own mind. You're all adults. But I believe that we have to think of others. And when we think of others and wear a mask, we're doing the right thing. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments that I'll have. I didn't miss anybody further again, but I appreciate Councilwoman Jermaine, you mentioned about the marijuana discussion that we had regarding the drafting of a marijuana ordinance. For those that may not have watched the City Council work session, I'd highly recommend that you go back when it comes out on YouTube through our partner with Impact. To view that. There was a good discussion regarding what that entails. We heard that there was some concerns from some comments in social media that were not favorable, but also what's the timeline? When would this be carried through? And I think the administration immediately started taking some action of meeting regarding from the council's action. But, it really comes down to the type, the location, and the application. And if you watch the work session, I'm sure there'll be opportunities. You'll see the process and what it's the city councils and the administrations moving forward on. So it's not that we don't have, we're just discarding completely. While the may not appear on the ballot this fall, there's actions that's being taken to move forward, to have the dialogue and develop the subcommittee and have the input. And so we're addressing all the needs of all the residents of the city of Monroe. Second item, I'll follow up on the discussion on the restaurants and the mask. I'm just starting, my wife and I did journey out to a few restaurants, and I'll be honest, if they're not in compliance with the executive order, I'm reluctant to visit because of concerns still as we continue to move forward. But I will say one restaurant I was in, I was advised that, and they were compliant, and the people that were compliant was, they asked if I knew that Neosha was in town. And I said, I had not heard that. And this was about a week ago. So they have been to town once already, and they're looking for compliance and are looking for if there's action. So as we move forward with this, I say that just for an understanding. So Councilman Michelangeli, as he stated, move forward with a contact and a complaint. I can't say there was complaints before of any location in the community, but they are making their rounds across the state of Michigan as well as Southeast. And the owner that I spoke with was familiar with it. They did not get to visit, but we're aware of it because of discussion with friends. So that's the route in which it takes. I know we get a lot of questions of that here at the city. Well, why isn't this taking action, or why is there going to be action or not action? And we get people to the process. So by Councilman Michelangelo's comment, the really direction and the opportunity is through Mayosh at this point. And there's a manner in which to file that if a resident wishes to do so, if they feel that is a concern. I'll leave my comments at that for this evening. And Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
There's nothing that I have to say that can't wait. So, and some of what I was going to say has already been said. So I'm going to defer my time to some of the members of the audience who have their hands raised.
Well, thank you, because I did see there was a couple that came up there. And before we get to the citizens' comments, Mr. Pastu, City Manager, any comments?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. And so now we'll, next is, the citizens' comments. Thank you, Clerk Treasurer. And I'll let you kind of filter through as in the queue. And then reminder of those that speak that the rules of the chamber is please be clear and concise. State your name, your location of residence by jurisdictions is sufficient for these meetings, but also that by the rules of the chamber for the 3-minute time frame. Clerk Treasurer, do you have?
I do. So I've moved Denny Nab into the queue. He's able to speak when he chooses.
Okay, Denny, please identify yourself and your residence.
I'd like to thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. My name is Dennis Nab. I live at 959 Western Avenue, retiree. I've lived in the city my entire career with the city, 43 years. And I think some of it was answered by the city manager, but I want to verify something because I was trying to connect on and I wasn't paying close attention, but I looked at the agenda fact sheet. I'm in the 512 prescription copay. The way I understand it, is that going to just stay the same, Mr. Pastu? Is that what,
Your Honor, yes, you will not, the way the motion was written, those with 512 and 1060s, if that's what they had, will remain the same.
okay, and then my other question was, will we then still be able to use Express Scripts?
I think Peggy is still on the, is she available, Peggy?
Yes, she's still.
I am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, Peggy, please go on.
Yes, Denny. We'll still be using Express Scripts through Blue Cross Blue Shield. That will stay the same.
Great. Okay. Very good. And I really appreciate because in the when we had the meeting, the info meeting, it was different, and I appreciate you making those necessary changes. And as a resident, I appreciate all your hard work, and I thank you very much for your time. And I agree with John Michelangelos on the mask issue. It's right, spot on, but people aren't wearing the mask, and that's what's jeopardizing the economy. Thank you very much.
Well, Danny, thank you for joining and appreciate it, because as our retirees, we do get calls, and I appreciate you joining this evening. And as we talked about that, with this clarification coming through was beneficial. So thanks for the you're asking as well. Clerk Treasurer Lavoy, next.
I'm moving Katie Beth Davis into the queue, so she's free to speak when she's available.
Okay, Katie Beth, if you would identify and your location of residence, please. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Katie Beth Davis. I live over on La Pleasance Road, and I am a district delegate to District 1. I was going to ask for an update on the statue, but I heard something that was concerning to me that I maybe would want to get a little bit clarity on. Mr. Michelangelos had mentioned the restaurant that wasn't really in compliance to CDC guidelines. I am also concerned, I'm a concerned resident in Monroe. My mom is battling leukemia right now, and I may go out and protest, but you guys always see I have my mask on and everything. My concern is also, though, the amount of small businesses and businesses that we have in Monroe is so dire that I feel like if we start like reporting them, like to go from 0 to 100 so quick, that it could risk them losing business in the future down the road, getting a bad name for themselves. I just don't know if there's a step that there could be taken before they get reported. Maybe if like our local police could issue a citation or something like that, because I just really worry about the future here, especially if it's a small business that's been around here for a while, or, you know, more people that are my friends and that live here that are, you know, have possibilities of losing jobs. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys.
All right, thanks, Katie Beth. I'll wait till the end. I might have just a brief comment on the Custer Monument on the discussions to date, but I will wait till we get through all the public comments. Clerk Treasurer?
I see no other hands raised, Your Honor.
Okay, so before we close for the evening, then I'll just make a brief comment of some of the movement forward. Myself, city manager, and assistant to the manager, Mark Cochran, as we talked about the discussions on the Custer Monument, we also understand there's other components within our community that are going to be also working on and have already started contemplating, and that would be through the Monroe County Museum, as well as the Monroe County Historic Commission. We recognize that if we're going to have a communication that's more encompassing and addressing what the items that have come forward to us, we really need to partner to start there to find out that we're both have the message. So we were able to have a discussion to talk through a variety of items and to really set what the objective is, but also how we get there, and then how we get the inclusion with the public as well. So it's kind of a methodical process. And I know that we've had public conversation up to date, but it's not something that's going to happen over the next month or two. In fact, it's a long term as you look about it, because we will access our local resource of knowledge of people, and it will be where we'll have these public forums with additional opportunities for discussion from a local standpoint. But when you talk about some national expertise that may be there on all sides, we need to reach out and find those. One of the items, and we're doing some follow-up through the National Park Service, not here at the local, but it would have been encompassing and had these conversations maybe already. I know that a couple of the people that have, I'll just say, reached out with an interest. I know that Mr. Pastu's had a conversation with a couple of them. And so we're using that as a foundation. We're not delaying, we're continuing to move forward, but this is just kind of the information to notice that this will be a longer process, but it's not that we're not moving forward. So I'm going to just leave it at that for this evening. And we'll continue to give updates as we have meetings for those that have an interest. And I know that I continue to receive some contacts from around the country, actually, with views on this that are being compiled and added as we find those resources as we work through this. So I'll leave it at that. I guess that's the comments for the evening. Left is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lamore, supported by Councilman Felder to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Angeli.
Yes.
Vining.
Yes.
Germaine.
Yes.
Lamore.
Yes.
Felder.
Yes.
Whitman.
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes, thank you all, and thank you for all your comments in the work session as well. Again, people, please, if you had not viewed that, I would recommend you see that for some additional information. Good night, all. Thank you.